everybody. Welcome to the Player Engage podcast. Greg here. Today, we're excited to welcome Lesley Nagy, founder of Mind Body Trivia, a mobile game that raises awareness about health, fitness, and wellness through fun, magazine-style gameplay. Lesley's women-led startup is making waves with inclusive and diverse content, featuring trivia with image answer choices and rewards for walking. We'll discuss the inspiration behind Mind Body Trivia, the role of women in gaming, and how the game promotes health and wellness. Plus, we'll explore her transition from TV to gaming and strategies for building an engaged community. So first off, Lesley, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything I missed that you want to share about yourself?
No, thank you. That was a great intro. Very lovely.
Thank you. I'm curious.
I'm excited to talk about mind body trivia. I think the fun thing is how can trivia really boost your well-being and be inclusive? And so we try to do trivia in a whole new way. So I don't want you to think of your old trivia games. I want you to think of fun, exciting trivia.
Well, I love that, first of all. I think trivia games are some of my most entertaining because I could sit there and play with my wife or whoever's in the room and we can all play around. And it's a very engaging way to kind of play a game with multiple people who are around. But I'm really curious that you have a background in TV and you're an on-air host and doing stuff like that. How did you end up in gaming?
No, you know what? Don't challenge me in pop culture because I will win. I'm a trivia fan. Always been a trivia fan and a good player. And I really wanted to know why it wasn't updated, why it didn't have images, why it wasn't full of the stars of today, why I kept playing the same thing again and again. And so it was a conversation with my twin sister over dinner, like all good conversations have, what could we do to really update trivia and make it talk to us and relevant to me, as a mom, a woman, as someone who loves pop culture? Could we make it fun and actually kind of teach something at the same time? Because my sister is super smart. She has her PhD. She's an epidemiologist. So she was like, why doesn't it teach anything? Why? So we were joking. We're like, yeah, why don't we have celebrities and health? Why don't we say, for example, like, what does Oprah have? Hashimoto's disease. What does Hugh Jackman have? Skin cancer. And we were like, yeah, you're right. Why doesn't it teach something? Because, right, we're not alone in health challenges. We all have something. But then you go back to my television. I'm like, but we have to make it fun. So we kept going back to, but how do we make it fun? So yeah, let's use modern celebrities. Let's use sports, but not just sports that we always see. Why not golf and tennis and running and cycling? What about fitness and working out? What about all these topics that, relate to now that are, I want to say neglected in trivia, but not in our trivia? They're there. And so could we incorporate all that and make it fun and exciting? And that was using images. So we're the first trivia game with image-filled answers. Which seems completely normal coming from television, and that it wasn't in gaming is crazy to me. So I didn't think it was really that unusual, but we're the first to do that. We're the first to include women's sports, Paralympians, again, topics that no one ever talks about or covers, but they are part of our pop culture now. So that was how it started, and it kept the ball rolling. Our first play tester, who didn't know it all, said, it's a mind-opening game. And it was just, I was like, we are onto something. And so I have that splashed, I think, on my website, but that wasn't an advertiser or anyone paying me. That was a real comment that I just thought really said, you know what, I think we are onto something. Let's keep going and make this better and better.
It's this cool thing that you did, right? You were in TV, you decide, I want to build a game. You sit down with your sister, you kind of spec it out, what we want to do, how we want to do it. I'm going to make an assumption here and tell me I'm wrong, but I'm guessing you probably haven't built a game or coded much gaming in your lifetime. So how do you, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but how do you actually go and build a game?
Right. That was what you have to learn, right? We started off with the content because we knew how to do that. So we literally started with building out the content. And so since you have to start with what I hand selected all the images. We hand wrote most of the questions because I said, as we want to include women's sports or anything, that meant realizing that that's not included, and we had to hand write it ourselves. So now that we have all this content, how do we go about building a game, which was also a big feat to take on? But Google answers all those questions for you. And now you have to go find a great team to build to, see your vision come to light, and really, trial and error and hitting it home, and finding really talented people who could help you. And I sought out women, and the women supporting women movement. I will stand by it because I got a women mentor who, encouraged me and really set me in the right direction. And so I would reach out to women in games, and women in games responded, "Hey, it's great to see another woman in game." And there was not a woman who really wasn't, saying, "Yeah, keep going for it. You can do this," or "Here, try this route," or "Contact this person." And maybe that's not the answer, but it leads you on a path that gets you your answer. So women help women, and men help women. I just as excited were, men helping us, because we're saying, "Hey, we're a woman-led startup," and they're saying, "Yeah, what do you need?" And you go, "Wow, I wouldn't be here without that journey of encouragement." So I'm all for it. And every time I meet another woman in games, I'm like, "Hey, you need advice or you need anything, you let me know." I have to pay it forward and pay it back.
I'll give a shout out here for keywords. We have a big Women in Games initiative and priority. I'm rocking their shirt today. It's actually the only keyword shirt that they sent me, but I do love the shirt. But we did a podcast with them. It's a great group of women and men that are all part of the group, right? It's all about inclusive and about kind of understanding the challenges that are out there and how you can overcome them. So I think that's great. And the way you went about it is awesome. My question, at Keywords, we do a lot of outsourcing stuff like that. How do you, as building a game, how do you know when your limitation, like, how do you know, everyone always thinks they can do everything, right? Like, I'm going to do everything, right? But like, how do you know when it's like, all right, I need to tap someone else in because this is where like my time is better spent building these questions, finding the content for the questions, not learning Unity on how to do this, right? Like, when do you like, is there a point that you realize that you need help at a certain place?
Oh yeah, it takes a village to do anything, right? So you need constant help in a way, but you need motivation from anyone else. They have to kind of like what they're doing. And the person who started the first, the version that we see now that I love, and I telling him my inspiration and him building out maybe the first page of the homepage, that takes, it's crazy what a process that is, because I was saying, I don't want pink or purple. I know I'm a woman. I don't want pink or purple in this. Can we make this game not have that? And it was like, why? Well, the competition has that. So let's be something different. Let's just not give in to those stereotypes, right? Again, we're a woman company. We want to be a game for everyone. I'm a mom. I want, I'm proud that kids to grandparents can play this game. So what would appeal to everyone and not, be inclusive whole down to the core, because it's the right thing to do. And so really getting someone on board to design it. And once that comes together, again, that's a slow process, iterative process. So everything takes a lot of talent, a lot of creativity, a lot of encouragement to keep going when it gets tough, which is what happens. I remember when the images wouldn't pull and you're like, wait, that's the whole point of the game. What do you mean? So you have to figure out problems that you didn't know you had. And that's television. My background was always figuring out a solution. And so that's what you are. You're a solution maker, and finding your answer is in someone else. It's in keep going. It's in changing this, figuring out that, and actually encouraging your team to do that too. So being a beacon of, okay, you can't get down in the dire straits. You got to keep motivating, and encouraging when it seems like, what's going on? Why can't we figure out this problem? So it's been a long journey, but it's been worth it.
What would you say your average day to day is like now? Like if you were to say, hey, here's what I do for a living, right? Like obviously you're a founder of a game, but like what are you doing?
Yeah, what do you do working on games? I feel like the title producer is pretty accurate. You produce whatever needs to be done that day. And that is actually, and problem solver, I would say that's my answer. But you are just in gaming. When I meet someone who's not in gaming, and there's this huge shift, because if you are young, you know the word app, you know the word game, you don't need to know anything else. No one needs to tell you anything. But if you're older, you're like, QR code, help me figure this out. So our game, again, spans the genre of all those. So I'm dealing with those questions left and right. I'm dealing with, Leslie, are you a gamer? I got asked that after explaining about my game. I'm like, wow, I think we have this stereotype that this gamer is this person who's isolated, headphones on. And that stereotype is completely wrong. Everyone's a gamer. We all have games on our phone. I have tons of games on my phone, and my own game, of course. But so I'm always trying to talk to people and say, hey, play my game, try it out, let me know what you think. We love comments and changes and updating it all the time. So it's a constant process. It's a never ending. It's like a baby, it's just growing and changing every day. So you say, what is you doing? And it's like that. It's building something every day.
So it's funny. I'm going to use the word imposter syndrome here because I think everyone gets the concept of imposter syndrome, that I'm not really that special at what I'm doing. And you're coming in from a different media to gaming. Was there an intimidation factor at first, thinking, I don't know anything about gaming, like I don't belong here? And I'd like to kind of roll that into the following question, which is going to be GamesBeat. You went to GamesBeat last year before your game launched, and now you went again this year with your game launch. So the idea is, A, did you feel that imposter syndrome coming into a vertical that maybe you weren't so familiar with, even though it's not that far off from TV? And then did you experience a different feeling from one year when you didn't have a game on the market to the next year when you did?
It was a full circle moment for me. Really, it was. Last year, when you go to an event, and I want to say it's an abyss of time, you don't realize like when are we going to get into the Google Play Store? When are we going to get to the Apple Store? When we do is the answer. And so you don't realize how long that process takes. It was like a month for Google Play, and it was like 2.5 months for Apple. And I remember one of my mentors was like, oh, that's really good. That was fast. You're like, oh, that was fast. It feels like an abyss of time. Okay. Even though there's a million things to do in that time. So I wasn't there. And going back to GamesBeat, having a game you could show, I mean, I was so proud because it does feel like this, oh, you made it over the edge of the cliff, and actually you have more mountains to climb. Like that's what you feel like. You're like, it's there's no end point in this journey, right? So it's like all destinations. It keeps going. There's another mountain to climb. There's more hurdles to jump through. But you say I didn't come from gaming. It feels actually very much like the same field, because it's changing constantly. You always have to be updated. You're always reading about new things coming out. You want to change your process. You want to do it better, faster, harder, smarter, right? And for me, I stay focused on the goal, right? I knew I wanted to do it differently. And so again, when you start off doing something that you don't see done before, it's a trivia game, but it has images in answers, and it now has trivia that's new, and building a trivia database. My sister builds databases, but she built like a food database comparing all the foods we love based on proteins, fats, carbs, and calories, right? And so I'm like, okay, but not just fruits and veggies like you see everywhere. Let's do coffee, drinks, and snacks, chocolate, dessert, things we actually all eat. So again, you're trying to focus on solving a problem. You're not trying to say, I don't know that. You're trying to say, how do I get from point A to point B? So I didn't look at it as a different beast. I thought it would be easier. Yeah. That's the only difference. You think it will be easier, and like everything in life, you keep going with what you believe and what your vision is and trying to make that happen.
Something you said that kind of rings a bell in my head, because I build demos for my company. We do demos and I build them. And one of the games I built was like a bubble shooter. And then I learned, oh, you got to build the next level manually, and you got to build the next level manually. And it's just like, oh my God, a demo. Like I'm not doing more than 2 levels, but like trivia, obviously you have databases, you have up-to-date questions, right? Like how many, maybe it's not hours a week, maybe it's hours a month, maybe it's a quarter, right? Like how often are you working on new questions and putting new content in there?
Right. All the time. Because I love reading news, and that's never going to change. So every morning I'm reading about who's the next star. We have a basketball category. So of course I had to include WNBA in my basketball category. And so going, wait a minute, there's new stars coming out. There's new players. There's the new hot thing. I want that in again, I had to handwrite it originally. So now I know I have to handwrite it now. And so actually it gets easier because you have a formula. You're like, okay, I need it short, sweet. I need this and that. So no, I love again, content is king to me. It's what I love to do. So that's kind of the fun part still for me, is going back to the beginning, so
Yeah.
it's, but it never changes. I think when we talk about categories of like working out and golf and tennis and running and adding those type of trivia, Olympics, I'm so excited. Okay, Olympics is coming out, and we have Olympic trivia and Paralympian trivia as well in our trivia. And I'm actually just going, who are the new players? Who's going to be the new star? And so, who's going to surpass these records that we get to celebrate? So that's actually, no, that's motivating. I think we should all, be excited for stuff like that, that we keep breaking all these records. And that's what trivia was always good for. It was really celebrating these world feats that humans do.
Yeah, and it's funny you're saying about the Olympics. I'm like, I don't know what type of marketing is being done, but like I'm thinking, hey, if you can pair up some of the most recent Olympic trivia with the game and like expose and advertise like that, I'm like, again, you mentioned QR codes. I'm just thinking like, oh, scan a question, or scan a question and answer and win a prize. And I was like, oh, this is some cool stuff you guys can be doing. So you say it doesn't change, but in a way it does, right? Because last year you didn't have a game on the market, so your mindset is launch, 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 launch. Now you've launched, right? Now you're at this post-launch where, all right, we want to start looking at our users and understanding what's happening. Are you looking at that type of data? Are you measuring data? Are you seeing how many questions? Like, what are your KPIs that you take a look at? It might be a weird question, but let's go with it.
Always, yes. You take a look at when. I didn't realize that Friday night is trivia night, that people come hound and look for trivia on Friday nights. So when through this process, you're like, okay, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday are huge trivia nights. Thursday, Fridays, but Friday night, for some reason, is trivia night. People are looking and playing trivia and searching us out then. So I didn't realize there are days of the week that would come into play. Sundays is family day. I'm like, yeah, I get Sundays. No one's looking for a trivia game on Sunday, but that's okay because we got Friday nights and it's fun. So
So I guess what type of backend tools are you using to do you use Unity for measuring things? Do you have databases? I don't know how technical you want to get here, but I'm just curious, like kind of
yeah,
how
I don't
you.
know how technical you ought to get. Right. It was built in Unity, which is great because it could go for both the Apple and Google Play Store.
Yep.
We do have our back end with PlayFab to pull the images. And do asynchronous play. So asynchronous play, unlike a lot of games where you play at the same time as someone else, like you can challenge someone to a round and they can play whenever they have time, and I can play whenever I have time. And again, that goes back to being able to play trivia whenever and however you feel like it. When you're bored, you're waiting in line, carpool lines, the doctor's office, things like that. So that's, to me, how people play trivia. So I wanted the game to reflect that.
So usually about halfway through the podcast, I like to do like a fireball round. I'm going to throw some random questions at you.
Okay.
Good to go?
Yeah, sure.
All right. What do you have for breakfast?
Coffee and chocolate.
Coffee and chocolate. Perfect. If you were to go to a bar, what drink are you ordering?
Probably sparkling, non-alcoholic, because I'm gonna, drive or be
There you go.
yeah, yeah.
Dream vacation.
Oh wow, just with friends and family somewhere. Probably somewhere tropical though. I don't know. I
Got to
have
be
a bucket
there.
list though of vacations I want to go to.
All right. Last book that you read.
Um, that's funny because I started a few because I have to finish them. My mom gave me this book about being burnt out before we launched, and so I started it, but I was too busy to finish it.
It's funny. I always ask that question. I'm just like, I don't read that much. I'm hoping no one ever asks me that question because I would just be sitting here stumped.
I don't. I like nonfiction.
Yeah.
So I don't read a lot of fiction. I should read more fiction. I want to start it. I have a stack of books that are always recommended to me, and I think every summer vacation happens, or a vacation, and I'll do that. But actually then I'm stuck with, I love trivia and I read the news and pop culture. So it goes back to, I think, that.
All right. Last question I have for you is, what is the last show you binge watched?
It was, good question. And I'm trying to remember the good question.
Not a
I,
TV fan, huh?
I've been really busy. I
That's
usually,
great.
yeah, a series. Yeah, I've been watching movies, and I usually watch them with my kids. So,
Actually, I do have one more question. Who's better at trivia, you or your sister?
oh gosh, me. But
Which
you know what? She's going to get all the nutrition data correct. I
she'll
will get
take
all
that
the pop
category.
culture and sports knowledge. So I'll win based on overall. I
All
can
right.
do more categories.
All right. Off the hot seat. One of the things we hear about a lot, and I think probably rings true in trivia, is the idea of a community and having a community to help provide feedback, provide content, provide visibility of the app across their friends, right? Like, have you worked on building that community? How do you approach it? What are your thoughts on that?
I love our community. It's small, it grows all the time. We listen. You know, when we get emails or feedback, people love to suggest questions, and so I think that's a great thing to have. You know, we're small and mighty. I feel like the little engine that could, and I just keep growing all the time. But I think that listening to your community is important. Again, I'm excited about the Olympics because I think that's community that is really excited for the record breakers, which is what trivia is all about celebrating.
What would you say your top lessons learned over the year would have been?
Have big vision. Try not to get so caught up in the small problems and the day-to-day problems, but really keep keep steady. Slow and steady wins the race, right? It's that tortoise and the hare lesson.
Right, it's about staying focused too. I noticed that you get 10 things going on at once, and you spread yourself thin, and that's kind of when you tap in some help, right? It's all right. I can't do 10 things, so
Oh, I'm a
understanding.
mom. I do 10, 20, 30 wrong. We juggle it all. Yeah, but
So
yeah.
kind of going back to GamesBeat a little bit, right? Now you went. It was about 2 weeks ago, I think, maybe last week. Why go to GamesBeat? What were your lessons learned? Did you have goals while going there? What's kind of in your mind during that process?
You know, I went to the Women in Games breakfast last year, and so I wanted to go this year. I want to see what everyone's doing. I love meeting other women in games. I said that's what's kept me motivated and going. And so I definitely want to be on the pulse of that. GamesBeat was fun because it's more of a community feeling, and it's exciting. And I really, I think for me, I like to learn the lessons of what other people share. So I'm always there. I'm always curious. I'm always learning. I think, you know, that's a good person in life. But to connect and really keep true to this game, the game community is strong and has a strong opinion about everything. I think what I've learned is my game is a niche. You know, it's a free to play casual game. So there's in the gaming world is so big. And so I don't want to think that I'm like the only type of game. There are tons of games out there. And it's growing so big and so rapidly. So just keeping on my little boat, which I love, my little trivia boat, but always knowing what's out there is smart.
Outside of the women's and game side of things, have there been kind of familiar faces you've learned to either find maybe as mentors or people you can rely on to ask questions or bounce ideas off of?
You know, everyone became a mentor via Zoom. So it's actually nice to meet them in person. And I do. At GamesBeat, I met two people but never had met face to face. And so, can you imagine running into someone going, I know you. I've only talked to you via Zoom, but now I can actually see you face to face. And how nice is that? And what a well-rounded conversation we have in person. You know, it's not just always about what you work on; it's who you are and what you're doing and what you're all about. So I think that's just every profession and every career.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I imagine maybe things get awkward in person. Like, I don't know what to talk to you about. I've only seen you on a screen, and things are much easier on a screen. It's also with our coworkers. It's always like that's like, oh, now that you're here, I don't know what to talk to you about.
No, that's not true. Gosh, no, yeah, come on. We're women. We can talk about everything, you know. You ever, you
It's
know,
a
I went,
funny. I agree with you, but then there's also the gaming side of things where people are sort of introverted. So it's kind of like two heads kind of bashing on what's going to break first.
You know what? That is a difference from coming from television because I am extroverted going into a half and half introverted, extroverted field. You're right. I do notice there are a lot of introverts. I try to calm my energy more because I know I'm very, let's say hyper
Excitable.
positive. Yeah, excitable. I'm energetic. So you're right. There is that. But
It's a great group though, right? Once you start opening up, you need the extrovert to start talking, and then all of a sudden everyone opens up. It's kind of like that's what I've learned through the podcast is like if we talk to someone that's very shy, and then you start talking about gaming, which is a hobby for everyone that's in gaming. It's just like, oh, I do this, and this, and okay, it's enough. Now, but
that's right. And everyone has in a game that they love, so they want to talk about. It's like everyone's passionate about something that they're really into. So I don't think television is going away. I think it's all merging into one, like they're all leaning on each other. You see what's on TV, you see it then on your game, you see what's a game, it becomes on television. So I think it's all entertainment.
yeah. And there's this whole concept of narrative games that are starting to come out more and more often, which are less interactive or more interactive. You don't move the character as much, right? It's all story driven. I like to think of it almost as a casual game, but more of a movie or a show that you get to be a part of. And it's funny because it's kind of the emergence of gaming and TV. I asked this in a weird way, but my question would be, your app is launched now. Are you thinking about what's next? Is it building additional content into the game? Is it new features from within the game? You meet all these other gamers. You say, hey, you have a match 2 game. I have a merge game. I have this game. Like, all right, is there synergies here that can be that next step? All that being said, is like, have you thought about what's next?
Yeah. Yes. We're always thinking, you're always thinking 10, stirring the pots, I'd like to say. You stir as many pots as you possibly can. I don't know that those, merge and trivia and casual can all merge together. Again, I think you're building a whole new game so that we have to start at the beginning, which seems like a really long process,
Mm-hmm.
Um, but, but I think that, yeah, I think that I'm excited to see what new games come out. I'm excited to see where we go. I love improving this game. I love adding new content. So that's where you'll always have me. That's just what I do for my fun. But yeah, I think that if it can help, to get more women out there, more women building games, more types of games that are DEI at the core, because not just to be, inclusive because it's trendy, but because it's where we need to go. We need to, show the world what we're all about. I think that's it. We're all more alike than different, right? So games bridge us together. And so the game itself should really, reflect that.
There's certain days you wake up and you're just like, oh shit, I gotta go do this again today. Are there those tasks that you've learned that you just aren't a fan of, that you'd rather outsource or send to someone else on a daily basis?
Right. No, I don't have a virtual assistant. No, I don't. I
I'm just
just,
worried. Sorry, I'm thinking workflow wise. Is there something that you just like you learn like I don't like doing this process or I don't like doing this process? It's something that you've
um,
learned about yourself through this change.
I've learned that those are the jobs I have to do. Because if if it's a fun job, I can probably get someone to do that job.
Okay.
But if it's not a fun job, that's mine. And so I actually learned that whatever, yeah, no, I just do it all, and that's okay.
How about on the other side of that? Did you learn about something new that you love doing that you've never seen yourself doing in the past?
You know what? I really love learning about UX UI art. I did
Okay.
not know how great it was, how beautiful it is to see that come to light, and just meeting the UX UI artists and just seeing how their process works. Was really the most interesting part of this creative process because it really makes the mood and the feel of the game. And I mean, I could show you versions of this game, and you go, "How did you get from that to that?" Yeah, you're right. So it to me it makes so much sense the way it looks now, but other versions of this, like when I tell people I had a trivia game at the very beginning with there's nothing else to go by, everyone wanted plain and boring. Well, then she just wants a plain background, no animation. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, fun exciting. And so to try and interact with UX UI artists who can just make that vision come to life. And when you meet someone who can see what you really see and actually do better than you thought, you're like, yeah. I mean, it's just such a celebration moment for the whole game.
I love that answer because I think UX and UI are so underappreciated. You see, it's one of those things that when it's bad, you can say, hey, that's bad. But when it's great or amazing, like it just blends in so well that it just feels natural. And I think, I mean, even in a trivia game, like you said, like you just think, oh, 4 answers, 3 answers, right? That's all. No, like UX, UI, my thumb's got to be able to do this. I got to be able to move quick. I got to be able to access these menus, right? It's like, it's so underappreciated.
It's a silly thing, but we wanted three answers because I believe in from television the powers of threes and fives. If you're into okay, so
Okay.
when the circle spun in and spun out, I remember going that now people are not going to question why we only have three answers because everyone has like this four design, and everyone is
Mhm.
all about their four. And I'm like, no, 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 four is too many. You need just three. And so when the developer did that, because the artist had designed it so awesomely to be able to spin, I was just like, oh, it clicked. So some things just click, and you know it when you see it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great feedback to hear that. When you're looking at, I mean, you said, I'm guessing you looked at a few different artists, right? Some of them provided kind of the boring. Like, what's your process to find these types of people? Is it like, hey, here's what we're looking for, send me some images or mock-ups? Like, how does that work? And I don't know.
Again, mentors really, you start with a mentor. You talk to someone about your idea when they, hey, look into this person, talk to this person, refer this person. Those are the such quality people. And when you can meet someone who really says, hey, oh god, that's crazy, I like trivia, and you go, oh, I have someone, they, I don't know, an artist who likes the game they're doing versus someone who does it, you can feel it in their passion.
Yeah, I
So it
think
has to
that
come full circle. It's kind of like this inward outer thing, and just like the game itself, you have to play it and feel something. It can't just be, a game for a game. You want to feel something in that game.
I that's so well said, and I think it goes across everything in any industry, right? If you love the project you're working on, you're just more excited. You got more, for lack of better words, skin in the game. Like I want to do whatever I can. I'm willing to go above and beyond because this is such a cool idea, such a cool concept. And that's why, I mean, I love the idea of you go to a mentor because you trust that mentor. They'll point you in the right direction. They'll find people that they know and they trust, right? It's a whole power of networking that is immensely powerful. And I tell people to this day, like, go back to your first job, to high school, find those people you can still network with, because most of them you could probably pick up a conversation like you did when you last saw them.
That's right. And I call it throwing darts. You have to throw a lot of darts, and you throw them all the time. There's no single answer until you find the path that you're meant to go on. And looking back, it makes sense all the time. But when you're in it, it
Yeah.
feels like a much longer process. Sorry.
When you made that transition from TV to gaming, what were some of the key lessons you learned from TV that still apply in gaming?
That is it. That there is no one answer. To keep trying to get what you want. To keep going at it. I think, and jump in, like dive in, don't look back, just keep going, dive straight for blind in a way. I love trying new things. I love meeting new people, talking to new people, finding out, reading, and researching. And that takes a lot of it. Your gaming is changing constantly. It's so fast. And so, you know, being on top of it is really important, to be on top of this business. And I don't know that you ever feel like you are. It's always changing. There's always a new player coming on. There's always something going on, and you learn something new every day. But if you keep doing what you love, it's good.
I mean, you said it before, right? There's no definition for what a gamer is anymore, right? Back in the day, you probably could define what a gamer is, but now it's everyone from my grandmother to my kids that are all playing any types of game, right? There's no boundaries here. Not the types of games allow anyone to jump in, whether you're disabled, whether you're a male or female, whether you're old or young. There's something there for you to play.
Yeah. Just challenge them. And you don't have a game on your phone? Oh, you do. You only have 20. Oh, gotcha. Not 100. Oh, okay. So there's that variance. But most people say I'm not a gamer. I'm not, because they don't sit on the console. They think they have to be in. They're not a college age kid on a console with lots of time, or in the middle of the night. I think that's the stereotype. It's just this weird. It's not true. Games are for everybody.
What do you miss about the TV days?
I feel like I'm still in entertainment and creation, and that was what I always loved about it. I was a producer. I was on air. I was a producer behind the scenes, and I loved creating stories and making content. And I actually still do that. So this is crazy. So I don't feel like I jumped ship anywhere. I just created something new.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you're sharpening these skills that I probably didn't even think about using at time and day, and now you're making games here, and that's an awesome transition. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Well, what would you say you? I'm going to ask this question. I feel for you to say it's stupid, but in 10 years, where do you want to be? Like, do you want to still be making games? Do you want to have multiple games? Do you want to? I don't know.
Right. This industry is constantly changing. So I think again, I think all these industries for entertainment are like all merged into one. Not that we're all going to have one, but I don't think there's going to be this set definition. We now have watching. You asked me what TV series I watch. I'm like, did I watch movies last or TV series? Do I? Why do? And I still do that. I call it a movie, a film, a TV series, an indie. Why? Why am I defining these things when it's all the same? And gaming is a part of it. Again, it's on our television. It's not just in a console. It's on our phone. Did I think we'd have our games everywhere we are? No, they're everywhere with us. So that's entertainment, and that's where it is. So where am I going to be? I'm going to be right in with it, and I love going around with it. I want to follow the flow, and I would love to be on top of it.
You've experienced both sides of it. You should lead the flow, don't follow it. Just set that path and set that standard. You got a whole group behind you ready to go. So
I got a whole bunch of women in games doing some cool stuff. So let's support all gamers, women in games, people creating new things, and get the next best things out there.
So if I were to ask Lesley, what would make 2024 the best career year for Lesley Nagy, what would the answer be?
Oh, this is crazy that you say it like a career. And I look at my life now as a whole life. So I have my family and friends, my work, and when you say it's just career, I don't view that as what's going to make my life. I have to keep
Mhm.
everything balanced, right? And so it's not called work life balance; it's everything balance, and they're all a part of it. So I want time with my family. I want time with my friends. I want time to create. I want time for mind body trivia. I want to make it the
Mhm.
best game possible and build the community. So that's I can't say I would just throw one dart. I keep them all running.
Do you purposefully, yeah, is that a word? Segregate time to make sure you have family time versus work time versus other time, or is it all just blended time?
Good question. I think it's all need to what's the immediate time. But sure. Yeah, no, you make time for everything. And I will forego sleep to do that for sure. That's probably the thing. I'm like, I don't have time to sleep that much. I need to get this done and I'll do that rather than so that's like the least on my totem pole.
There you go. You got 24 full hours in a day, right? Take advantage of those 24 full hours
I only need 6 hours of sleep.
and coffee.
So I'm lucky. I'm lucky in that sense. So
I love it. Lesley, I think that's really all I have for you today.
thank
Before
you.
I go, I'd like to give you the mic to see if there's anything you want to say. Let us know where we can find you and your games. So,
Yeah, no, I'll definitely make a pitch. Please go try out Mind Body Trivia. It's completely free in Apple or Google Play Store. It's unique. It's unlike any trivia you've seen. It's inclusive, diverse, but more importantly, it's fun. And we'll challenge you. You can get a bonus for walking and playing. So, I mean, get a little exercise. Check out our fun motivational quotes we tossed in there. I'm proud of our factoids. I'm part of trivia. I hope you find it to be a mind opening game too.
yeah, I love it. We didn't even talk about the walking aspect of it, but anything that gets people up and moving, and I think it's great for the community, great for everyone. So, at the Player Engage website, we'll have links to both the Play Store as well as the iTunes Store to download the game, as well as their website, the Mind Body Trivia website, and to Lesley. I will be on there playing. I have been playing recently a lot with my wife, so we will be on there, and maybe you could challenge us. But Lesley, thank you so much for coming out. This is such a cool experience. I'm glad to hear. Congratulations for all your success so far and the success soon to come. We look forward to staying in touch, and thank you again.
Thank you. And I'm going to challenge you now. Just wait.
Perfect. I'll be there.